There is a number attached to Nia's name at work. It is larger than her salary. It has always been larger than her salary. It sits inside a document her employer updates every year. A total reward statement, a compensation summary, a benefits overview. The name changes depending on the organization. And it includes things she has earned, things her employer has offered to match, and things that were simply waiting for her to say yes. She has never said yes. She has never looked. For 4 years, the number has been there. And she has been elsewhere. Nia is 4 years into her career with an international development organization. The kind with a London headquarters, regional offices in Lagos and Nairobi, a US entity for grant administration, and a staff handbook that takes a long weekend to read properly. In 4 years, she has been posted across 3 of those offices. Each posting came with a localized employment contract, a country-specific benefits booklet, and a portal she visited once during onboarding and quietly forgot. She has always moved fast. New city, new flat, new team. And her habit across every transition has been the same. Note the salary, sign the contract, file the benefits booklet somewhere sensible, which in practice has meant somewhere permanent. She earns in pounds sterling now. Her contract is UK administered, her pension contributions are modest and automatic, and she knows the number that lands in her account each month with the precision of someone who has built a careful budget around it. She tracks her spending, she saves consistently. She sent money home last month without pausing to think about the transfer fee, which is its own kind of information about where her attention lives. But that is a conversation for another episode. What brings her to the portal tonight is a forwarded email. A colleague in another office has sent around a thread about maximizing employer contributions before the tax year closes. Nia reads it 3 times. Then she reads it a 4th time, more slowly, the way you read something when you suspect it contains a word you do not know the meaning of. It does. Several. She opens the portal. She gives herself 1 hour. She makes a spreadsheet. Here is why Nia never looked, and why most people in her position never look either. Because the logic of not looking is surprisingly coherent. She received the handbook, she was told the benefits were there, she assumed that the important ones, the ones with real monetary value, would be automatic. And for some of them, she was partially right. In the UK, pension auto-enrollment meant she was contributing something and her employer was matching something. It felt handled. In her US posting, a portion of her 401k had been set up during onboarding, also handled. The error in the logic is not laziness, and it is not ignorance. It is a very reasonable assumption that a system designed to help her would have flagged anything she was missing. Systems rarely do. Benefits portals are not designed to chase you. They are designed to receive you when and if you arrive. Nia, like most people, interpreted the absence of an alarm as confirmation that everything was fine. It is a quiet and very expensive way to be wrong. But before we follow Nia into the spreadsheet, before we look at the number she finds and what she decides to do with it, it is worth pausing here. Because the question of who knows what they are owed and who is allowed to claim it is not a new question. It is not even a primarily personal one. To understand what Nia is sitting inside tonight, we need to go back, a long way back. In 1944, the United States government passed the Servicemen's Readjustment Act, what history would come to call the GI Bill. It was, on paper, one of the most generous compensation packages a government had ever assembled for its workforce. Returning veterans were offered low-cost mortgages, fully funded college tuition, low-interest business loans, and unemployment insurance. The language of the act made no distinction between the men and women who had served. Every veteran was entitled. And yet, when the program concluded, a striking number of those veterans had accessed far less than they were owed. Not because the benefits had been withdrawn, but because the system that delivered them was so complex, so fragmented, and so poorly communicated that millions of entitled men and women simply did not know what they had, how to claim it, or that the window to do so was quietly closing. The GI Bill was administered simultaneously across multiple federal agencies, state offices, banks, universities, and veterans organizations. each with its own paperwork, its own processes, and its own staff, who were often as confused as the veterans they were meant to serve. Veterans returning to rural areas frequently had no local office to visit and no clear point of contact. Many did not know that education benefits could be combined with living allowances. Many believed the mortgage benefit required a level of financial stability they had not yet rebuilt, and waited, sometimes years, before applying, by which time their circumstances, the housing market, or the program's terms had shifted beneath them. Women veterans represented one of the starkest cases of uninformed non-access. Tens of thousands of women who had served were legally entitled to every line of the GI Bill and did not know it. The program had been written, communicated, and administered as though its beneficiaries were exclusively male, and so the women who qualified moved back into civilian life, carrying entitlements they had never been told they held. It is also true, and honesty requires saying so plainly, that for Black veterans, the barriers were of an entirely different and deliberate character. Where other veterans encountered confusion and complexity, Black veterans encountered architecture, banks that declined their mortgage applications, universities that were segregated, a veterans administration that reflected the racial logic of its era. The distinction matters. Ignorance of a benefit and being structurally barred from it are not the same thing. Both resulted in unclaimed entitlements. Only one was a choice the system made. If you want to understand more about how historical financial policy shapes present-day wealth gaps and how Money Tapestry traces these connections, consider subscribing. There is more of this work coming. What the GI Bill holds across all of these stories is a single lesson about the distance between entitlement and access, between what is offered on paper and what is actually received. That distance, for most veterans, was created by complexity, poor communication, and the reasonable but costly assumption that if something important were available to them, someone would have made sure they knew. No one did. The benefit was real. The claiming of it was another matter entirely. The veterans who did manage to claim the GI Bill fully, and there were many, particularly those who were tenacious enough to navigate the bureaucracy, connected enough to find someone who could explain it, or fortunate enough to live near a functioning Veterans Administration office, understood something the system was not designed to teach them. They understood that the benefit only existed at the point of claiming, that the paperwork was not a formality. That showing up to the office, asking the specific question, naming the specific entitlement out loud, that was the work. Some of them accessed their education benefits a year late. Some took the mortgage 3 years after discharge, once they finally understood what they were eligible for. But they got there, and what they built, the houses, the degrees, the businesses, the assets, passed quietly to the next generation, compounded over decades in ways that are still visible today. The lesson they earned the hard way is the lesson Nia is arriving at the easy way, sitting in her flat in front of a laptop at 11 o'clock on a Monday. The benefit only exists at the point of claiming. The portal being open is not the same as the money being in her account. The handbook existing is not the same as the contribution being made. There is always a gap between what is available and what is received, and that gap requires an action. Sometimes a simple one, sometimes a structurally exhausting one, depending entirely on which system you are inside. Nia's system is not hostile to her. It is simply indifferent. It will not remind her. It will not calculate what she has missed. It will wait, with perfect patience, for her to arrive. Tonight, 4 years late, she has arrived. The spreadsheet takes her longer than an hour. She works through each posting methodically. UK first, then the US period, then the Lagos contract, brief as it was. In the UK, she has been auto-enrolled into the workplace pension at the minimum contribution rate. Her employer will match up to 8% of her salary if she contributes 8% herself. She has been contributing 4%. The gap in employer match alone across 2.5 years is a number she writes down and underlines. There is also a salary sacrifice scheme she never enrolled in, a professional development budget that resets annually and which she has claimed once in 4 years, and a private medical top-up she did not know existed. In the US, her 401k was set up but never increased beyond the onboarding default. and she left before the employer's vesting schedule matured. A detail she had not understood at the time and would have made a different decision around if she had. The Lagos contract was short. But there was a pension contribution under the contributory pension scheme and an HMO enrollment she never completed. What changes for Nia after this evening is not her salary. Her employer is not writing her a check for the years she did not pay attention. The money she left on the table across 4 years and 3 countries is gone, and she sits with that plainly, without drama, because drama will not retrieve it. What changes is her posture toward the question. She increases her pension contribution to the threshold that triggers the full employer match. Immediately, that same evening, before she closes the portal, she enrolls in the salary sacrifice scheme for the current tax year. She books a 30-minute call with her HR team to understand the professional development budget process. She does not do all of this because she has become a different person. She does it because she has finally read the document. The information was always there. It simply required her to stop moving long enough to look at it. The action Nia takes is available to anyone watching this, regardless of where they work or which country administers their contract. The first step is to locate your total compensation or total reward statement. Most employers produce one annually, and HR can provide it if you do not know where it lives. Read every line and identify which benefits require your active enrollment and which are automatic. Then identify which employer contributions are match dependent, meaning your employer will only contribute if you contribute first. And check whether you are meeting the threshold. If you have moved between employers or countries, pull the documents from previous roles and check whether there are vesting schedules, deferred benefits, or unclaimed contributions that still have a window. Finally, if your employer offers a professional development, wellness, or equipment budget that resets on a calendar or financial year, find out when that reset happens and plan accordingly. None of this requires a financial advisor. It requires one evening and a spreadsheet. Nia closes the laptop at midnight. The flat is quiet. She has not solved anything large this evening. She has not changed her salary. She has not recovered what she left behind. She has not arrived at some new financial identity. What she has done is smaller and more durable than any of that. She has read the document. She knows the number now. The real number, the one that includes what her employer offered and what she claimed, and what the gap between those two things has cost her over 4 years. She will not forget it, and she will not make the same assumption again. That the absence of an alarm means everything is fine. Sometimes the system is simply waiting. The question is whether you arrive before the window closes. If you want me to make other videos explaining these topics, please like this video, subscribe to this channel for more smart insights, and click the notification bell so you don't miss what comes next. Thanks for watching.